Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good night, wherever you all are in the world. My name is PUSHAN and I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, PUSHAN.
And I'm so sorry that it's after so many months or a couple of years of formation of this group that I'm appearing on this group for the first time as a speaker. In fact, so many of my friends are here on the screen just now that I'm wondering how I managed to stay away for so long. But कहते हैं ना देर से आए दुरुस्त आए जिस दिन जाग गए उस दिन सवेरा. So this is my morning on the group of Mangalore Online. So friends, anonymity uh, did not seem very important to me till that day. I remember I was working in a newspaper group, and I had a huge drinking problem. Like I used to always have at least a quarter in my desk at all times, emergency sake. And then my drinking started way early in the morning, and it proceeded during the day. But I used to call myself a functional drunk. I never allowed myself to pass out. I never allowed myself to get too high. I used to, kind of put a lot of water in my drink to kind of ensure that I'm also functioning at the time I'm drinking. And this used to go on till about early evening. And then I used to find some excuse and run away and find the nearest bar. And there my serious drinking started. This went on for some time. And I had one person in my team who was in his early sobriety that time. And one day he ventured and he told me to come for an AA meeting. He said, "Sir, I'm not saying that you have a drinking problem, but I had a drinking problem, and I found a lot of help in this meeting. Maybe you should attend as a well-wisher." Just for the fun of it. And if you like it, you may want to continue, because if people like you come over there, I'm sure you will help a lot of others. He was being very modest and very politically correct and very diplomatic about it. And finally, I was struggling with this idea of whether to walk into a meeting full of drunks and whether it's going to help me anyhow. But one day, I think John Barleycorn pushed me into the meeting. And I remember I was sitting, that was in double group, must have been early 90 or 91, around that time. And I went and sat on the first bench. I didn't know what kind of meeting I had walked into. So I had gone straight from my office with a tie and formal attire, and I walked into that meeting. And somebody, not knowing whether I was a first timer or a newcomer, asked me to start to say something. So I had heard a couple of sharings before I was called. And so I stood up, I looked at this audience, and I realized that none of them could have ever any kind of connection with my life. And so I got up and I started saying that I have a drinking problem, and I think I need help. I'm not sure whether I fit in here yet, but I think I need some sort of help. And I was speaking, and while I was talking, this guy, this subordinate of mine, he walked into that meeting, and he saw me and he froze in the door, and I saw him and I froze in my tracks. I didn't want to say anything more in front of that guy. Suddenly, I realized that if this guy chooses to kind of go and talk to people about my having attended a meeting for drunks, my career is over. So at the same time, I was sitting in front of 20-25 people. I was standing in front of 25 people, and I was wondering, I couldn't now stop abruptly halfway, because what would these people think of me? So I had this dilemma, and I perfectly understood. At that time, I had no idea what anonymity meant. I had no idea why this fellowship was known as Alcoholics Anonymous. I had no idea that I had complete protection in this meeting, and nobody's going to talk about my alcoholism outside. I had no idea of knowing all of this in that very first meeting. But still, I managed to fumble a few more words and I sat down with a lot of anxiety in my heart. Now, how is this going to pan out? That fellow, that member who was working with me, also had the good sense of keeping quiet. After the meeting, he told me, "Sir, very nice you came for this meeting. I'm so happy you finally found the time. I hope you liked the meeting. And if you know anybody who has a drinking problem, please let them know that there is such a meeting. And I'm so glad that you also took some time to speak about your problem, though you need not have." So he was very diplomatic. He was very considerate, and he understood what I must have been going through, and he respected and regarded that. And for that, I'm grateful because very few members display that kind of presence of mind when you come across somebody uh, in the meeting. That brings me to the first point of why this uh, anonymity was basically felt necessary. I mean, look at those days in early 30s, or let's say 35 onwards. You had a New York Stock Exchange broker, and you had a surgeon, Akron surgeon. Both their professions depended on their goodwill and whatever people thought of them and their efficiency and their capability. And in those days, if it was leaked for whatever reason in the early days, and if the stigma of alcoholism uh, had put them down, maybe the fellowship would not have taken off. In fact, if you read the preamble, the first few guidelines lines of the first edition of Big Book, the our co-founders seem almost apologetic at the way uh, they have stated that we have not given our names because we are people of various professions, and the social stigma does not allow us, because we are worried. Even though we are doing something right, we think we are doing something right, they felt that the world would not understand. And why 1935? Even today, in 2023, every time you try and go to somebody's house or office or meet somebody outside and you broach the subject of alcoholism, and you can see that guy flinch in front of you. Nobody likes this word, this alcoholic. Everybody, even in the worst of drinking days, is trying to shy away from this word. And that's what was happening to me. So when Bill W. talks about anonymity, he says, at the personal level, anonymity provides protection for all members from identification as alcohol, a safeguard often of special importance to newcomers. At the public level of press, radio, TV, film, video, and other public forms of internet and social media platforms, anonymity stresses the equality in the fellowship of all members by putting the brake on those who might otherwise exploit their A affiliation to achieve recognition, power, or personal gain. Now, this second half is modified after 1983. Some of it came in 2013. So, because the internet is added to that. In the original tradition, as you remember, there was no internet, because there was no internet those days. So essentially, if you go to see uh, the entire business of traditions, I'm sure there must have been many other speakers before me to talk on traditions. But as Bill W. talks in the introduction, he says traditions are about uh, an individual's relationship with his group, a group's relationship with AA as a whole, and AA as a whole's relationship with the world outside. So essentially, we are talking about three different relationships when we are talking in AA. So me as an individual, I have certain rights, I have certain freedom, privileges, but I, as a member of the group, need, or whenever I'm representing the group, I need to follow certain guidelines, certain set of rules. These are given in the traditions. And then when group is having relationship with other groups and other service bodies, there will be certain issues that will come up. So traditions aim to cover those subjects. And then finally, when AA as a whole tries to connect with the world outside, there are various other relationships with other NGOs or people working in the field of alcoholism or working for the general welfare of the humanity. And so this relationship that we have, A as a whole, with the world outside. So tradition aims to look at this vast canvas of relationships. And so every time when we talk about individual vis-a-vis as an AA member, there is a difference. Now, for example, the first and the most common question is you talk about anonymity, but when I sobered up, uh, I remember it was, I think, the second month of my sobriety. And me and my wife, we had gone to Pune for some business. And by then, everybody in my family knew about my drinking history. And this time, we decided to meet one of my cousins. We were to meet them for dinner. So I went and dropped my wife over to my cousin's place. And I went forward to do whatever business I had, and with the understanding that I will join them by dinner time by 7:30. For whatever reason, I got held up in this workplace, and my cousin, knowing my history, he and his wife started badgering or rather badgering or rather asking. They became anxious. They started wondering if I'm going to come drunk now, and then it will be very embarrassing for my wife. So they started preparing her for what might be in store. So my cousin asked my wife, so since how long you said he is not drinking? She said a few months. So in this time, he's not had a single drink? She said, no, he's not had a single drink. That is a little difficult to believe. No, she said, yeah, he's not had a single drink. But then how come? All these years he's been trying not to drink and he could never do it. And suddenly what has happened? Now, my wife didn't know whether she should mention about my association with Alcoholics Anonymous. So she said, no, he's managed it this time. He's got a few friends, and with their help, he's done it. And then my cousin asked her, but he's gone to meet his friends today, and he's also late. So do you think he'll be all right today? And she said, yeah, I think he will be all right today. So what gives you this confidence? So no, basically this time he's turned over a new leaf. He wants to live a good life. So I don't think he'll go back to drinking. But if he comes drunk, let's all be ready, is what my cousin said. And I, instead of reaching at 7:30, probably reached around 8:30, quarter to 9. By that time, the atmosphere in that house was positively tense. And when everybody saw me with a smiling face and absolutely stone cold sober, everybody heaved a sigh of relief. And my wife kind of told my cousin, see, I told you. And he said, "Ne, ne, ne, manna padega." So yes, 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 I completely accept. that we were wrong in saying this. And I quickly realized what must have happened because of this delay in my reaching that spot. And I took that as an opportunity to tell my cousin and his family about my membership of Alcoholics Anonymous. And as I went and spoke about it, I felt so good about it. I felt uh, so proud about my own small little achievement at the time. My wife, I could see in her eyes, she had that pride in her eyes that my husband finally seems to be doing something right. And I saw the awe in my cousin's eyes and his family. They were all like, they were awestruck. They wanted to know, does it really work? And so I went on to tell a little more. I knew very little about AA at the time, but I went on to tell about whatever my little understanding was. And that evening suddenly became so spiritual and so happy. And my cousin, since then, after that day, till the day he died, whenever he came across any alcoholic, any person with a drinking problem, he made it a point to call me, make me talk to that person, introduce him to Alcoholics Anonymous. So often this question comes is, how anonymous should I be? Do I need to be anonymous with my own family? So absolutely not. I need to let my immediate family, I need to let my immediate community, I need to know the immediate beneficiaries of my sobriety about what is happening in my life. But again, our anonymity tradition says that it is up to the individual how anonymous he wishes to be, is the choice of that individual. Leave it to him and let that person, him or her, take whatever time he or she requires to be able to, this aspect of anonymity has to be on a person to person basis. How anonymous would you want to be? But uh, in my early days, I I was about 3.5 months sober. No, perhaps about 4 months sober. And I had to come to AA through the rehab route. So I had been in a rehab center, and after my program was over, my association with those rehab people was there. And I remember in those days at Shivaji Park. Shivaji Park is a huge ground in Mumbai. For my Mumbai friends, it needs no introduction. There was a huge program arranged by the Shiv Sena, one of the political parties in Mumbai, on drug and alcohol awareness. I don't know who put my name as one of those speakers to talk on that platform without my consent. We were invited to attend that program. I was working, like I mentioned earlier, with a newspaper publication house, and I had gone there, and I was sitting there in the first row. And there was one person who knew me very well and who knew my association with Alcoholics Anonymous. And he was on the stage and he waved out from the stage to me. And we had a little bit of an eye contact and exchanged smiles. And he was talking about alcoholism. He was a friend of AA. He was not an alcoholic. And while talking, while speaking, I don't know what took over. And he suddenly said that, in fact, I have witnessed, I have an actual recovery from this program, the 12-step recovery program, who can, through his own experience, talk to you about how he got well. And from that stage, he asked me to come forward on the stage. Mind you, friends, at that time in Shivaji Park, there were about 40,000 people. It was a huge crowd. There were multiple screens laid out, and I I I didn't know what to say. I was totally not prepared. I was totally not ready. I was too new in the fellowship. I had no idea how much damage I am going to probably cause my own career, because this was all being covered live on TV and various. In fact, the newspaper for which I was working, there were so many reporters from that newspaper sitting there, and I knew so many familiar faces. And my first instinctive reaction was to decline. But there was a gentleman whom I respected a lot and who had a huge contribution to my sobriety. He was there. He put his hand on my back and he said, "Go ahead, Pushan, speak. This is your opportunity to reach out to maximum people, but don't talk about your AA member." Said, how do I talk about recovery without talking about my AA membership? I didn't know that. So I modified on my way to the stage, I modified my story. And instead of stating any names of any programs or any fellowship, I just referred to the support group that I go to and the program that I follow and the help I receive on a daily basis, things like that. Generally speaking, without taking any kind of AA name, I managed to speak for about 15-20 minutes about my story. And that was my first public experience. And inadvertently, I had followed the tradition. I had no idea at the time. But when I came down to a thunderous applause, because there were certain film personalities on stage, and everybody was shocked at my disclosure of my being an alcoholic in front of such a large audience in front of live TV and everything. So the shock element was too much for anybody to really understand what happened. And while I was walking down, I was looking at all those people who were from my publication house sitting there, and they were avoiding my gaze. They were not looking at me anymore. And I said, I am finished. My career is over. Tomorrow, I am going to be a topic of ridicule in my entire workplace. This is going to go very badly. Next day morning, I was not even sure that I wanted to go to work, but I pushed myself and I went to work, and you'll not believe it. Not one of the persons present over there mentioned about my talk. Friends, I am talking about those days when we had only Doordarshan. We never had multiple channels to look at. We had to watch whatever was coming on TV. So I don't know how many people must have seen that broadcast, but not one person claimed to have seen or recognized or even referred to that talk. And for the first time, I realized that generally speaking, the world respects your sobriety, the world respects your privacy, the world respects your recovery. They know that disease was your problem, and how how your recovery comes is really not important. But if you have the courage to come forward and talk about it, people are always very, very appreciative. So I realized that I can be as anonymous as I choose to be. I can be uh, there in front of 40,000 people and still maintain my anonymity by not stating my AA membership. So as we see, so many people today we see working in the field of alcoholism, people who work in rehabilitation centers, in hospitals, in various halfway homes or education centers, and people talk about their being alcoholic or their having had alcohol problem. Recently, a friend of mine, he happens to work for a rehab center, and that center wanted him to appear on a talk show. So he was extremely worried, extremely scared. Can I appear on this talk show? and this is going to be like on a Facebook and this and that. I said, see, why are you coming there? Are you coming there as an AA representative? He said, no. Are you coming there as a member of AA trying to bring people to AA? No, no, no. I am coming basically on behalf of that rehab center. So I said, as long as while you are appearing, and if you are going to take your full name, and if your face is going to appear, then you must not talk about your AA membership. That's all it is required. So all those people who have chosen the field of alcoholism as a career, when they are honest to their profession, to promote their profession, to promote their vocation, they will need to do certain things. They will need to appear in front of TV, radio, press, internet, whatever. But as long as they do not talk about their AA membership, it is not considered an AA anonymity break. But suppose somebody asked me the other day, if I appear on TV, if my face is seen on TV, but I don't take my name, then who knows me? Is that still considered as an anonymity break? Yes, my friends. So if you appear on an AA platform or as a representative of AA on any public platform, including TV, even if you don't give your name, but your face appears, yes, it is considered as anonymity break. So if you have to come for whatever reason on screen, then you must ensure that your name is not associated with AA, or there is no AA board or background or t-shirt or cap, or somebody standing with you with an AA t-shirt and you still appearing. So any kind of association, visual association of AA with you will result in an anonymity break. But if you appear professionally or if you appear socially, um, last year we were working on certain films. Now these films were done on behalf of a social organization. That social organization decided to take interest in de-addiction as a subject and various forms of addictions like nicotine, drugs, gambling, sex, multiple. Among them was also alcohol, obviously. So I was asked by that agency, by that other NGO, to conduct those interviews. I just gave them two choices. I said, if I come as the interviewer, I will not be able to talk about my association with any of these programs or in the fellowship. Or if I come as a member of any of these things, then I cannot show my face or give my full name. What would you choose? How would you want me to participate in this program? And they said, no, 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 you don't mention, since the members are in shadow, since the members are not speaking, their face is covered and their face is blurred and whatever, you appear on behalf of us as an NGO, and you just conduct based on your understanding of the subject, you conduct this interview. Okay, so we went forward and shot a few of these programs. But on the other hand, some other NGO was conducting similar kind of exercise, and they wanted me to give my story as an AA member. At that time, we went to great lengths to hide my face, to not express my name, the shadow and the effect and everything, because here I was going to appear as an AA recovery. So whenever I appear as AA recovery, I must keep 100% anonymity. There is no leeway or whatever deviation allowed in this. Except, now obviously you'll say, what is except? You said 100%. How can there be any except? Yes. We must remember that anonymity is a tradition inside AA for all AA members for two reasons. One, to keep me safe from the stigma associated with the word alcohol, and two, so that I do not use AA for my personal gain or benefit. I don't use AA name for my personal promotion or my business or my enterprise promotion. So both ways there is protection offered. Both ways this is offered. But what happens? While introducing me, Hemant mentioned that I was working in General Service Office, GSO, and I was the chairman public information. My job was to travel across the country and give various interviews. In fact, we gave hundreds of interviews, and those days we were around 400 meetings across the country. And by the time we finished, me and Laurie, to those old timers who know Laurie, I remember him fondly so many times, may his soul rest in peace. We did a lot of traveling across country, and as a result, to talk about AA, we had to give maybe 100 odd press conferences at various places. Now, there we were appearing as AA spokespersons. Absolutely. And there we insisted in every press conference the need and necessity of us as members remaining anonymous, and that our faces, our photos, our videos should not appear in any form. We insisted that you can put us in a blur, or you can put us in background, or please show our literature, or please show our class A trustees or friends of A, show their faces. Their professions will be benefited by this coverage. We don't need on personal this thing. And we went out of our way in explaining why as AA members we must remain anonymous. But despite various warnings, many times inadvertently, the press leaked our photos, either some way on stage, somewhere while talking, somewhere some interview, while talking about what AA does, what AA doesn't do. And this happened. And I remember in one of the conferences, this issue was raised. Uh, how do we tackle this situation? Despite taking all kinds of precautions, sometimes it is bound to happen that inadvertently, because the world outside does not understand our anonymity, they may not respect our uh, sincere request to keep our individual anonymity at the level of press or radio. So we did all sorts of things, like gave uh, only half names. Like I say, Pushan V, or just Pushan. So there could be anybody, or let's say a common name could be anywhere. So initially, for a few meetings, whenever I used to appear in public, somebody gave me this idea: you change your name, because your name is a little different name and people will be able to identify. I also did not have much of understanding about the anonymity tradition. So for a few meetings, I used another name, and then I realized, what am I doing? AA cannot be functioning like this. And then when I went into the service guidelines, I realized that the world outside does not like nameless, faceless people. They want some name, they want some face. When you take somebody's appointment, I can't just say, I am Pushan, and I will not tell you where I come from and where I stay. They'll say, okay, fine, don't come. So there is certain etiquette, there is certain thing that is practiced outside, wherever people are working towards public information, wherever they have to work with other community resources, or with professionals, or with police, with judiciary. They have to give their full name, and they have to appear in person and talk to in public awareness programs in person. And while talking, you may appeal, but in that large scale public awareness program, sometimes you are bound to get clicked with the AA name, whether you like it or not. but you then need to take it in stride. This is not an intentional anonymity break, but there also many times, if inadvertently some photo like this has appeared, we have contacted that particular newspaper and insisted that such mistake should not happen in future. We want them to keep writing about Alcoholics Anonymous. It's just that we don't want them to be writing about people, not about us. We don't want them to write about PUSHAN. We want them to write about what the message is, not about the messenger. So these are some of the things that we encounter while serving. But generally speaking, when an average AA member is attending meetings, what kind of anonymity breaks is he likely to make? Usually, it is about the anonymity of others. I remember in Thane, uh, there was a very famous doctor. And he, in fact, in my drinking days, had tried his treatments on me. It had not worked. And then finally, when he saw me sober, and he developed a drinking problem, and one day he had the humility to come and ask me, Bhushan, uh, where do you go for your problem? And spoke to him about Alcoholics Anonymous, and I invited him to attend the meeting. And he did come for that meeting. But unfortunately, in his very first meeting, both of us walked into a meeting a little late because the meeting started at 7:30 p.m. and I was waiting outside for this doctor. He came around 7:45, and when we walked inside, there were a few patients of his as our members. They were sitting inside. And after the meeting, one person came and told him, "Mari, doctor, what are you doing here? I mean, what?" And that was the end. When the doctor realized that even though I spoke so much about anonymity and personal safety and personal, complete freedom to share whatever he wants, but he realized that if his patients are sitting in front of him in the audience, there is no way that he can maintain. The second experience I want to share with you, I think it was my first year of sobriety. After a great downward spiral, my life seemed to be doing well. I got a new job. I was doing well on the job. In fact, I joined on a promotion with a big pay in a new company. And there in that company, the management and the workers, they had a problem. So there were three unions in that company, and all those unions versus management, they always have a problem. But in this particular company, they had just come out of almost a lockout like situation. So everybody was, you know, um, on almost on a war footing with the others. So there were conflicts between the unions, as well as there was a conflict between the management and the union. And I happened to join this company as general manager marketing. I think it was the second or third day. So our offices were on the first floor, and the toilet blocks were on the ground floor at the back of the entire, the workshop. So you had to climb down and walk across that entire workshop to go to the toilet block. And on second or third day, while I was going towards the toilet block, uh, from one section, I heard somebody shouting, hey, Beuda, which means, hi, alcoholic, alcoholic. Looked around. Of course, I didn't see any familiar face. So I carried on, sick with anxiety. Obviously, I knew there was some AA member in the workforce here. And that AA member obviously did not understand anonymity. And he had either purposely or inadvertently mentioned to his friends in the union that this new general manager of our company is an alcoholic. And probably he might have shared bits and pieces of my story also. We don't know what must have transpired. And I was sick with anxiety. After a lot of difficulty, I had got this job, and I said, sooner or later, this whole thing is going to reach my management, and probably I will have to leave. I suffered in silence for 2, 3, 4 days. And each day that voice became louder. While going, while coming, there used to be a shout of a bevda and a few snickers there, some people laughing and enjoying themselves. Nobody had the courage to come in front of. Finally, on the fourth or fifth day, I just walked up to this set of people. There were a few machines there, and about 8, 10 people in that block who were working there. And I went there and I said that the fact that you know that I have a drinking problem means that you are an AA member. And if you are an AA member, which means you know that the name of AA is Alcoholics Anonymous. Anonymous meaning that you are supposed to keep anonymity of other members. I said, see, if you go on talking and shouting like this, sooner or later the management will come to know. I will have to quit. I will probably leave and take some other job. But what face will you as an AA member carry in your AA meeting that because of your anonymity break, I had to leave this company, with disrespect. I said all whatever I had to say, and I walked off. Uh, it was, I think, a weekend. It was a Friday, and on Monday morning, first thing in the morning, those 8, 10 people they came and met me, and they apologized to me. And the person who was a member, he came and said, "I'm so sorry. Actually, when I saw you walking on the shop floor, inadvertently I said, "Arey, ye to hamara member hai." This guy is our member, and I didn't realize that I what I was doing, and because of that, these friends they realized that you also have a similar problem like me, and they started doing this out of just to tease you. But then I spoke to them, and then I requested them, and then all of them said, "Okay, no problem." I continued in that company for the next 3 years and managed to do a reasonably good job. And at the end, when I left that company, this group and came and said they thanked me for being there. My point is, nobody probably breaks the anonymity of another to damage in some way. It comes out inadvertently. It comes out instantaneously, impulsively. It comes out, but the damage is done. I remember when I was a new member, there was an old timer who used to work with a large publication house in a very, very dignified position. And some of our members had gone to his office and behaved as we behave in AA meetings, calling each other names and stuff and whatever. And as a result, because of that anonymity break that happened with that gentleman, he stopped coming to AA. I don't know how many such people we may have lost because some other members did not understand the importance of this for of you in your workplace or you in your community, what you are doing. But on the other hand, sometimes we overplay the anonymity bit. I remember I used to stay in a place called Vasant Vihar, and I used to stay at ground floor. And it was in, I think, my second year of sobriety. And me and my wife was a very strong Al-Anon member. And every night we used to hear voices from the flat in front of us, in the next building on the ground floor, fights, crying, shouting, bad words. And we realized that there was an alcoholic in that house. And so I said, um, I've got to go and tell my group that there is an alcoholic near me. And koi to bhi jaake senior member, please come and give him a message. So I went, and in my home group, I told them that I think there is an alcoholic near my house. So and so his name, so and so his flat number. Please go and give him the message. And there was an old timer in my group. He said, "Are he's your neighbor. You go and give the message." And suddenly I realized, oh shit, the ball has come back to me. Now everybody's expecting me to do it. I came and I spoke to my wife, and suddenly I started feeling, or anonymity, what in my community, how can I, if he sobers up, fine. If he doesn't sober up, then my name, he will go and tell everybody that I'm an ex-drunk and this and that. And I was dealing, dallying, postponing, and in 2 or 3 months, one night we heard loud shouts and cries from that house. That boy, um around the same age as me, had died in a motorcycle accident on the Eastern Express Highway. That night, me and my wife, both of us could not sleep. We realized that if we had not made such a big issue about our anonymity, in my community, in my building, probably a life could have been saved. What is the use of my sobriety? How am I ever going to carry the message of Alcoholics Anonymous if I remain hidden in my bedroom? If my alcoholism remains hidden in the A classroom, how am I going to be of any use to the community where I live, where I serve, where I am going to be a citizen again? Uh, I have now got this free from Alcoholics Anonymous. And if I have to pass it on, I have to take a little bit of risk. I have to appear in front of people. I have to start talking about how, I mean, I have to stop being ashamed of what happened, because now I know that I could get well. I'm not drinking anymore. I'm not misbehaving anymore. So I have every right to talk about good living because I'm living well now. So uh, I realize that sometimes, uh, for safety of other members, I have to make sure that their anonymity is maintained. But I should not be so concerned about my safety that I hide under the garb of anonymity. My friends, most often I see so many people who come to the program. They become happy, healthy, their families come back, their jobs, they get money. But when it comes to doing something for AA, whenever it comes to becoming the face of Alcoholics Anonymous, appear in front of people, talking to other people, talking to other communities' resources, they suddenly remember their anonymity and they go back in their shell. So, another significant part, which now I need to probably end my talk, but just 2 3 minutes before I close, uh, one very important thing is the world of internet. Now, in the last 15 20 years, the world has changed. There is an alternate, parallel, equally powerful world of internet. And what happened in terms of anonymity in physical meetings was a challenge in itself. But now, when we come to the world of internet, my friends, uh, here it's a totally different ballgame altogether. So there is ample literature, and perhaps if there is a little bit of time left for asking questions, maybe I could take some of the questions about anonymity at the level of internet or in the digital age. But there is ample literature available, and I am going to uh, post some detail. If you looked at anonymity online and digital media, you must look at this piece from General Service Office. This kind of sums up all your questions. Like, for example, whether I should have appeared with my full face on this meeting today. From there, it's like, for example, today I assume that all the members here are AA members, or probable AA members, people who are likely to get sober. Uh, so I assume and I have appeared. Now, if you listen to me with my face, with my full name or whatever, it's absolutely all right. There is no anonymity break here. But if this meeting through Zoom is streamed live on YouTube or on Facebook, then suddenly it becomes an anonymity break, because streaming exposes it to general community. It is equivalent to appearing on television. So while I appear here, there is no problem as long as it is password protected and only entry by invitation. But if by any chance, if you have invited some of your friends from press to come and understand how anonymity is to be understood, and tomorrow if it prints with my face, with a screenshot of my face, it will definitely be an anonymity break. Moreover, if you are going to share this video recording, if you do the video recording and if you share it, it is not in the spirit of tradition 12, because then you will be giving extraordinary importance to a face. But if you share the voice, there is no problem, because then there is no full name and there is no face associated. Then you can share this audio to all the people you want. So if I start recording and promoting PUSHAN sharing with face, with video, well, that is putting personality above principles. But if you take this, if the message is more important than the messenger, then it's not an anonymity break. So there is a very fine line, and largely it is about your own conscience, the God of your understanding, your higher power, and your group's conscience, that determine how anonymity is to be interpreted by you in the spirit of this tradition. My friends, I think I have already overshot my time a bit. So I'll rest here, and I'll thank you very much for giving me a chance to share on this wonderful group. And if there are any questions, I would be happy to take them. Thank you so much.